Sure. Thank you. Hi guys, good morning. Oh man. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy Friday. Happy last Impact Series. Guys, we can do it. I see looks of surprises. This is a great way. You guys have all made it to the end of the academic year while we still have programming and things that we're doing. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being prompt. Thank you for being in business attire to welcome our final Impact Series guest of the academic year. And so with that, it's truly a pleasure to welcome someone I've had the joy of knowing for 2 years now, Mitali Saxena. 2 years ago, I had the honor of inviting her to do a TEDx here at Lynn University. A few of you have may been in on that session. And I'm thrilled today to see that moment come full circle where she's able to share her journey and her story with our Watson scholars. Mitali is truly a trailblazer at the intersection of fashion, data, and most recently mindfulness as well. She's the founder and force behind Fashion, a company she built from the ground up and successfully scaled into a multi-million-dollar business. Her work challenges industry norms by blending the precision of data with the creativity of fashion while staying rooted in emotional intelligence and intentional living. As she shares her story, I ask that all of you please give her your undivided attention, headphones, phones, all of the distractions, please put away. I ask that you sit up. There will be a break at 11. Please refrain from leaving the room until we get to that point. So with that, please put your hands together and please give Mitali a very warm Watson welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. It's almost the end of the semester.
Yeah, you're
Yes, awesome. So I promise not to make you guys sleepy if possible with my humor, but feel free to interrupt anywhere. This should be an interactive session for you guys. I'm here to share my journey, but also learn about you guys, and hopefully we'll exchange some ideas together, and we'll see how it goes. Sarika, do you mind just keeping a track of time? I know, 11 o'clock we need to take a stop. If you guys have anything you want to ask me up front, please do before I get on to my first slide. Any questions? Where I'm from, who I am. I came from Miami. It took me an hour, but it was pretty cool. I listened to some podcasts. I caught up with some emails while there was traffic. So yeah. All right. So today's presentation, I'm bringing in a little bit of my personal journey along with how I build my company. And I know you guys may have some ideas going forward to start your own business. Show of hands. Anyone thinking of something or has already started something? Wow, almost everyone. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so how many of you, show of hands, are on idea stage? How many are already executing? Awesome. How many of you have heard of mindfulness? I love that answer. That's it, we're done. How many of you practice meditation? Very cool. I know, very good crowd. I don't have to do anything. I think I'll just skip to the last slide. Okay, so again, when we're talking about mindfulness in this whole journey, it's not going to be a TEDx talk where I'm going to talk about your purpose here, but we'll talk about journey and how all this played into, if I may call it on a worldly level, success for my company and for my own personal growth. So here we are. That's my company, Fashion. That's my first company. I actually have another one that I recently launched. That's me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn if you guys want. That's the QR for that. Like I said, I'm a founder of Fashion and also X-Fashion. X-Fashion is just a subset of my first company that uses the technology from my first company, Fashion, for retailers. As Sarika mentioned, I was a TEDx speaker here 2 years ago, and I am an engineer by my education, and I am a certified business coach. Also teach yoga and meditation, which is for passion more than profession right now. Right. So my parents thought I could fix code. So my journey began as an engineer. I grew up in the Middle East. That's where you see that. My parents are Indian, and my family lineage has all been in an engineering family. Like my mom, my parent, my father, my uncles, everyone. And I guess it was just trickled down to me without even realizing that I wanted to do something different. And later in life, I decided that I didn't want to fix code. I wanted to fix fashion or the problem in the fashion world. And here I am presenting to you a girl who was born and raised in the Middle East to Indian parents. And now I'm in the fashion world. So I had a twist in my story. I started finding like disconnect with the things I was doing. So I started off as an engineer working for T-Mobile. My bachelor's was in computer engineering. I went to school in Florida, and my master's was in electrical engineering. I thought that was something that I was passionate about. And like I said, it probably came down through my parents or my family, but I never really connected to my true purpose. And most people go through a journey of awakening, and I don't know if you guys have had very drastic changes in your life. I didn't go to Bali to figure out my purpose. I probably went to Target and figured out this purpose. So it wasn't like, eat, pray, love for me. It was more like cry, journal, and snack. So during that process, I started realizing a new direction for me, like where I wanted to take my life to. Since I had that analytical mindset, I don't think I wanted to give that up. And as an engineer, as any degree, like you become creative, like you learn how to solve problems, right? So I started focusing on developing a product that could help me with my purpose, but also be in alignment with what I'd already learned, like from my background. Like it didn't have to be two disconnects of world, right? It could be something that I was creating in the product engineering world and also fulfilling a purpose. So I started rewriting my story. There was a turning point during that Target journey of mine where I said, I want to scratch the story. I'm a director of my own story and I'm going to rewrite it. And this is my turning point. I didn't know what I was doing in fashion because I'd never studied fashion, never went to fashion school. I'd seen fashion magazines like all of us. Yes, I'm a woman, so I love fashion. I like dressing up. But I had no formal background or any association, including my family. Like none of them have been in anything remotely close to fashion. And one day I decided, I was living in New York back then before I moved to Florida. And I saw there was a disparity. I saw everything that was on Fifth Avenue looked very superficial and type A, like a personality type. If I have to put it like physically, there's a denomination of, looking a certain way. And I felt like there was no diversity or inclusion in fashion. And I wanted to test that model out. And this is back about 10 years ago when I was doing something totally different, but I started feeling that there was a purpose behind fashion that I wanted to explore, which was inclusivity and seeing how people react. Like, is there any awareness on the subject, or are we just going to just keep going and, blogging with filters? Instagram had become really, really popular back then. So everyone was putting filters. You always want to look a certain way. You have these beauty standards, and it really bothered me. So I did an experiment. Let me see how I can get this to play. And I'll show you a video in the next slide, but I did an experiment with an app. We created a short version, like a print of Pinterest, you can say, and I went around colleges to ask people if they would resonate to this idea of no filters. That was my first step, even before I quit my job or even start thinking of building the company. While I was doing that, I felt that there was, and this is all in New York, by the way, not in Miami. And I started feeling again that, there's resonance, but no one's doing anything about it. Why is that? And since I went to fashion schools to experiment, oops, what did I do? How do I go back to this one? Thank you. So since I was still in New York and I'm still researching how this could be, was there an impact? Was there any purpose behind whatever I was feeling, thinking in my breakthrough? Something happened. It was the month of August when New York Fashion Week takes place. And a friend of mine and we were talking about the subject, and I came up with the idea. I'm like, what if we just do something really grassrooty? We don't have to do a big experiment of sending survey and doing all that. We make two people stand in front of New York Fashion Week. One is a plus size woman and the other one's actually a transgender. And we put them up, we put a signboard, and you will see in the video, which says you don't have to look perfect in real life. If you believe that you are a model, you don't have to be on the runway. If you relate to this message, put a Be Real sticker on this model. While we were doing that, we started seeing a lot of participation, including press. I'm gonna play that video, then I'll tell you the rest of the story. So that video became popular overnight. We had over 100,000 views. We had all the press that was going to New York Fashion Week stopped at to see what was going on over here because we were gathering crowd. We got a lot of press. BuzzFeed featured us, Yahoo featured us, and I didn't really have a mission. Like I didn't have a product. Like I had no idea what I was doing. I knew that was the mission of my company through my Eat, Pray, Love situation, but I didn't really know what the product was going to be. And my vision became more defined after I saw the feedback. So, and I'll talk about my entrepreneurial journey in a second, like how the company evolved. But from this, what I learned was that I wasn't the only one thinking about this. There was some resonance. And to my surprise, it wasn't just women, it was men as well. I think a lot of things that we think are very feminine problems are not usually very feminine. I started doing a lot of research on age groups, demographic, gender. It may be a hidden problem, it may be a taboo, but this problem existed all over, not just America, but outside of America too. So my first version of the company was an Instagram for fashion with no filters, which you saw on the previous slide. Back to that. How do I play the video again here so they can see? Oops. Okay, thank you. So these were all the pictures they started posting with their own styles without filters and being confident of what they were wearing. And that was the mission. Even before the app Be Real came by the way, I should have sued them, I did not. I'm a nice person, let's say that. And also I didn't have patent, so I didn't know this was gonna get stolen later on, but this was back in 2017. So we started off doing like an Instagram for fashion with no filters. The idea or the business idea was to have people tag what they were wearing, where they purchased their clothing from, and people could buy them. So if you're traveling to Spain, you could see what actually real people, not bloggers, were wearing, not promoting something, but actually real human beings who travel are wearing, and what you can purchase from where. Things were going fine. Again, me being from the tech world, I knew stuff about building an app. I didn't know user acquisition. So I had to think about, different ways of acquiring people. How do I make this? Like we did a campaign, yes, we got a lot of buzz, but how do you get users? It's all about users, right? In the end, if you're doing an app. And Instagram was a competitor, even though I wanted to say, okay, we are different. We're only about fashion. We don't do filters, but reality was it was a competition. So we started doing campaigns in different countries, not just America. We made it into a global product. And we did campaigns in the Middle East, we did it in India, we did it in Europe. And within like 6 months, we had 150,000 users without paying for ads. This was all like events or through people, network, posting, talks, just basically spreading the word and awareness. And it was fine to a point. Okay, it was fine to a point where it came, it was generating revenue, it was creating a buzz, but again, the engineering or the unsettled mind wanted to do more. So again, I went back to my eat, pray, love situation, and which wasn't eat, pray, love again. It was again a target round and snacking and crying and journaling. I found something else. So the purpose being making women or men and men comfortable in their body shapes was always our mission for the company. How could we redefine the business? So we started, went back on the drawing board. We were like, okay, should we start selling clothes? We're like, okay, we can design clothes, but how is that going to differentiate us from anyone else? Then we started thinking, how can this business model for women and fashion evolve into something which is tech related, because that was my forte, and help keep the mission again to promote body positivity, to help women feel confident. So I started doing more research with the 150,000 users that we had. I'm like, what is this? Like when we did the survey, I'm like trying to find out, not directly like, hey, do you feel confident? People don't really answer those kind of questions. It can be disrespectful. So in subtle ways, we were trying to find out what was their current issue, like when it came to fashion and style. And our surveys, pretty much, I would say 90%, again, this was all confidential, came out to the style and fit of clothing. That's what they said. Like, oh, I don't feel good on so-and-so things that I saw online, and I don't know what to do. It looked good on the model, it doesn't look good on me, and I want to wear peplum top, but I have such a big waist, things like that. So evolution of our company happened through that purpose again. So we started building a styling platform, which would take data from these. We did it only for women up until now. Men are on waiting list, but hear me out, guys. It can work for both, so it's just data. So they would put in, they fill out a questionnaire with about 25 questions and answers about their profile, like what they didn't like, their size, their fit, preferred styling, meaning tailored versus tight versus loose, their height, their bust size, their shoulders, things like that we needed just to get enough information to see what would look good on them. And with that data, we started using human stylists, and we started differentiating from other apps. I mean, there was Stitch Fix back then, and I think there was Nadine West or something back in the day who did styling boxes. The way we differentiated was from a price point, our boxes were less than $250. So that was the other thing. People were like, oh, we like all this stuff, but it's gonna cost me an arm and a leg, so I'm not gonna use a styling service. So we're like, okay, we'll try and find good inventory, but at a lower price. The second thing, which helped us even for later on for algorithms, and I'll talk about data and algorithms in a second, is we started showing them a preview of what they could get. So we would show them 10 or 15 pieces and they would select 5. So we knew what they didn't like and what they liked, besides what they were actually being sent. So the 5 pieces of clothing they would try at home and then they would return. So yes, we have all that data, but we also knew visually when you look at clothing, what these women were rejecting. So that in the future kept adding to our data pool. So between all of that, my honest, journey is written down here. We're trying different models. We are trying everything that we could do. So in beginning stages, I had to be a CEO, therapist, and a janitor at the same time. Now we were thinking about solving a bigger problem, which meant we had to get inventory, meant we had to get a warehouse. We had to get people who would do packaging. It was nothing like a mobile app that was, just developers basically sitting in whatever, Egypt. And I think at that time they were developing stuff. This time we needed physical space. We needed manpower. So it was a lot of, I would say the tango process that happened and a lot of financial gymnastics, what I call it, is like, again, how do you make money? How do you buy all this inventory? It's like a catch-22 situation, right? Is I know I want to send clothing to 50 women who've signed up, but how do I buy clothing for them? So there was a lot of back and forth in the process, like how do we make money? How do we get initial seed funding? All of that, resulted into the new model, which was our styling platform, which Fashion is right now. And I thought that was the last evolution of Fashion, but it didn't stop there. And I will continue where we are right now, but things change. And one thing that I probably learned, the biggest lesson in my entrepreneurial journey, is that you have to be open-minded. You can think what people want, but until you start getting feedback from others, you don't know what they want. So it's not about you, it's always about your customers. And knowing your customer, understanding what they need after you launch is your feedback loop, is your validation, not you and your mindset and you putting PowerPoint decks together and saying, okay, this is going to work because there's a problem in the market. This was my team back then. We had, this is a moment of joy, but we had a lot of moments of sadness there too, and frustration. So in all, I guess, the stages of my company, from we started saying, hey, we're going to do styling boxes, to where we are now, the common denominator still remained, how do we make women feel good about themselves? How do we solve the problem of affordable fashion for these women, but at the same time, make them feel confident in their body shapes? So initially we were using human stylists. We said, okay, a human person can understand this better, not AI. And we focused a lot on, customer service, which at the beginning I highly recommend for you guys who are starting out new. Focus a lot on customer support, focus a lot more on the customer journey. I used to send out at least 100 emails a day myself to find out what people were liking and what they didn't like. Knowing your customer better, like I was saying a minute ago, is the best thing you can do before you spend a lot of time, money, and effort into it. So while we were doing this, over the years, we started collecting so much data that we could automate a lot of this stuff. I want to eliminate is not a fancy word to say, but we could reduce the number of stylists, human stylists that we had, and use algorithms which could do exactly the same process that a human stylist would do without the customer without affecting the customer service at all. So over 5 years, we collected about, I would say, 5 to 10 million data points of customers. And based off of that, our algorithm now predicts exactly what Susie from Omaha, age 42, would like to wear in the month of April. That same algorithm could also be used to predict inventory. How many black t-shirts do I need to buy? How many floral shirts do I need to buy? In which month? Where is it going to sell more? What's our customer database looking like? How was the trend last year? All that kept going into the algorithms because, again, what's the other problem in fashion? Anyone want to make a guess? One of the biggest problems in fashion. Please. Okay. What else? Clothing waste. Okay. Yeah.
The trends get old very easily.
Trends get old very easily. Okay. Correct. So that's a twofold problem. Dead inventory comes in because of returns. Right? If you don't like something, you'll keep returning back, you'll buy more stuff, and then you'll keep returning. The same, and dead inventory is also because you want to try and please this customer over and over again. You don't want to lose people, you want to keep selling. So we started noticing, and I don't know, I should have probably put this, I'm sorry, I'll send it, if you want, I can show it to you later, but I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but last year, they did a fashion show in the deserts of Chile where there was a whole dump of clothing. So basically, we moved our problem to another country's problem. What do? Like you buy excess inventory, you produce excess inventory, and it became a huge problem. We knew like we were buying from ethical vendors. We knew we were not doing fast fashion. There was inventory prediction, but at the same time, we weren't like looking at outside world. We weren't looking at what Zara was doing or what Macy's was doing. So then we evolved again. Another pivot happened. And we're like, okay, if we are so confident that our customers would like to keep everything, then why not send them a box with no returns, taking a huge risk in the business model. And we said, we're not going to take returns because a box is going to be really, really cheap. So we priced our box at $95 for 5 pieces. And we're like, okay, how do we maintain this now? They have an incentive to keep everything because it's less than $100. We know what they like, what they don't like by now. But the question is, how do we keep everything cheap and solve this problem, industry problem of excess inventory? So long story short, we started talking to a lot of retailers and we're like, what are you doing with your excess inventory? Oh, we're selling it to TJ Maxx. What is TJ Maxx doing? Dumping it. So we started breaking the chain and started going to the brands directly. And we said, give us your excess inventory. Since our clientele, and I'll show you in a second who our clientele looked like, but they were mostly moms. They were, women who were not like involved in the New York Fashion Week or Miami fashion. They were, moms who wanted to look put together, not look, like they're waking up and going to work or going to pick up their kids, but they didn't care so much about the latest trends. For them, this excess inventory or a season-old inventory did not really matter so much. So we started buying inventory, which they were going to dump it anyway at a very low cost, and that's how we maintained the price of our boxes. So we started slowly by slowly. I can't say that they're not dumping it anywhere or burning it, but we're contributing at least a little bit, a fraction of I would say, not even like 1%. I'm probably thinking if we had to go global, maybe like 0.1% of the inventory that probably is getting burned or dumped somewhere on the planet. Any questions so far? I feel like you're getting a little bit sleepy here. I said too much. Yes.
So what would you do with your dead inventory? Or what would you do with the excess clothes? Because you have your own clothes and then you're also going other places for their like dead inventory, like you were saying. So what would you do at the end of the day with all of that?
So we had a reverse problem. We actually chased inventory. we kept running out of inventory because of our demand. So initially, the way we used an algorithm, like I was telling you, we were very precise on prediction. In fact, we went a little pessimistic that, oh, we won't get that many requests, so we would buy less. So in our case, their inventory wasn't like over 50%. It was probably like 5%. And then we, did sales, or we would do discounted stuff, through influencers, and sell it off. So we really did not have that problem. And the second thing is our clientele. Like I was telling you, their inventory also happens because what she said, the trends keep changing, right? But who's trendy? Trendy is you guys. Trends are not, suburban Nebraska moms. They would wear a striped shirt today, and they probably wore it last year, and they're going to wear it next year. So our inventory was very versatile in that way, or has been very versatile. It doesn't go, like, I would say very little percent, like I was saying, like less than 5%, I would say, was very trend focused. Everything was very average, everyday looks. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
We're not dumping anywhere. It's still being used. It's still sitting in the warehouse.
Okay, so if nothing gets used, it just.
Then we just say, yeah, we do a massive sale. So going back into my personal journey and bringing that whole eat, pray, love situation back and how mindfulness came in. These are the 4 things that now that I talked about fashion's journey, this is my journey, what came into play when I was, when I started fashion 7 years ago versus where we are now. There was a purpose, which I said, that kept going. There was community feedback. But then I had 2 other things that I'd learned from my spiritual practices in my personal life, which I brought into work. One was intuition in conjunction with daily meditation that I've been practicing and teaching. So I don't want to pretend to be a neuroscientist here, but I'll tell you something more logical to understand when I'm talking about intuition and inner world and all of that. So based on neuroscience, your brain doesn't work as a left and a right. Has anyone has done any research on or studied neuroscience ever in this room? Yeah, a little bit. We have some idea. Okay, so you guys probably know that they used to say that, oh, your left brain or your right brain. That's not the case. Your brain actually uses both sides of it. And you have neural pathways, and your neural pathways can never be destroyed. You can create neural pathways again over it, but they can be destroyed. Going back into our history, when this is before we invented fire, mom, pap, but way, way, way long ago. Before we invented fire, our brains, if you've done any, like if you've read history or you've seen archaeological stuff, our brain used to be very squished, like our head wasn't this big. We didn't have the front side of it, which is called the frontal cortex. So how did we survive? We went out, we hunted for food, but how did we know where to go? It was instincts, what they call the animal instincts or the gut or whatever, however you want to define it. But it was instincts, it was intuition to know, hey, I'm going to go here, I'm going to, try and get food from this place. Once we discovered fire, we started eating protein. We started eating animals. Once we started eating animals, getting so much protein, our frontal cortex started developing. And our frontal cortex is responsible for logical thinking. So eventually, as we evolved, our frontal cortex became more powerful. Our logic became more powerful than intuition, which, thousands of years ago, that's all we had. So new research says there is a portion of our brain, and there's different ways of thinking. They talk about like 6 ways of thinking. There's, mind, body connect, there's intuition, and, and there's logic. But the purpose of this presentation, if we had intuition back in the day, where is it now? We're not just accessing it, right? Are we? I mean, on a day-to-day basis, let's do a show of hands. How much, if you use your intuition at least once a day, raise your hand. Awesome. If you use your intuition for every decision that you make, raise your hand. If you use your intuition for 1 out of 10 things, raise your hand. Nice. How do you access that? Do you trust yourself? Is there, you feel like there's something beyond your logic?
Yes,
Mhm.
sometimes you just ask for signs of confirmation, ask God or whatever you do. And they start coming in. And the more you see them, the more you begin to believe yourself with those signals that you're six.
Okay.
Another question. How do you know that the decision that you're taking is because of intuition and not like
Logic?
yeah.
Okay, very deep question. I'll try and answer. So the way I describe intuition, because there's a differentiation between intuition and logical thinking, you have to disidentify with thinking, first of all, to get into intuition. So what that means is meditation or waking hours. Can you become an observer to your thoughts? Can you observe them? If you can, who is this person observing? That's dissociation with your thoughts. You are not being your thoughts, you are being someone watching your thoughts, right? When you're trying to make a decision, don't go into the thoughts. Try coming out of it. Yes.
If you had artificial intelligence when you created this business, do you think that things would be different? Like, would it be different from?
Like if
Would
I
it be different?
if I had ChatGPT back then,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have to reinvent some of the stuff, but here's the thing. We still needed data, right? So building a stylus platform, if I had to just look at the code, yes, I can use ChatGPT. But every chatbot, every AI product needs data, training data. And for that, I still had to do the whole thing for years because we needed all these users, clients, who would fill out the form, who would buy, who would select, all of that, right? How do I know what Susie in Nebraska likes if I don't have that data? You can't ask ChatGPT. They can generalize based off of, returns, whatever, companies are providing. You don't know exactly for you unless you have your own data. So the second company that I showed you, it's in the MVP right now. We are actually, what happened over the years since we became, good at predicting. And our model, by the way, the $95 model, no returns, is working really well. People don't return. They love it. So that just shows success that, our algorithms are actually doing a good job. So the second company, Xpasham, is actually helping retailers with the same situation. Now that we have data, we can use their data to train this model. So we become our own ChatGPT stylist, and we use their data to train and say, okay, with using your data, we can tell you this is what's going to sell, this is what you should recommend, this is what you should upsell. So again, the problem that we're trying to solve is the same industry problem. Lower the rate of returns and don't buy excess inventory, don't dump it in Chile. Yes.
And really quick, how were you able to store this data? I know you said creating an app, but
Mhm.
did you have like a website built in that you created or something like that? Like, were you able to?
Like the
see
functional or the backend?
I guess both, like all of it. How were you able to see the numbers, like in a chart? Like, did you just how were you able to like see it?
Sure. So, I mean, on the front end, it was a website and an app. So people would fill out a questionnaire using the website on the app. That's for the front end user. On the back end, it was all on servers, on Amazon servers, if you want to know technical stuff. And sometimes, I usually tell people when you're starting, you don't do so much research. I feel like the less I knew, the better I did. Because I didn't know, half of the things that existed. And I'll show you my case study of how we became popular in a second. But I didn't know, I didn't know there was a software to manage a warehouse. I just knew that we had to make it efficient. So I'm like, we're gonna build this on our own. And I had a good team of engineers. We all used to work, you saw the guys. You know, we were all passionate about what we were doing. So we built an algorithm for our packagers. So we had 2 stories. I'll show you in a video how my warehouse looks like. But we have 2 stories. So we would make them go only in one single row to save time. That was our prediction again. Like, okay, how can we streamline our packaging process? Again, things you learn as you're doing the business and without looking out at outside world. Yeah, but I'm not discounting that, oh, don't use tools that are out there. But sometimes you just have to be very creative. Any other questions? We diverted from intuition. Yeah.
Did you start off like paying your employees, and then also how did you find people that were like purpose driven like you were?
Okay. I did pay my employees, yes, and I still do. The second question is, how did I find they were purpose driven? Interview process. Call it my intuition also when I was interviewing, or I still do. I always, you can see it too. I'm sure everyone in this room, this we know, you know the vibe, right? You can ask these questions, they can pretend so much that, oh yeah, we love women empowerment, but if are they saying the truth or not, you can tell. And it wasn't all about women empowerment, that was the mission. The mission was overall, you know, promoting self-love, body positivity, creating something cool that saved the planet also at some point, you know, how we can contribute. So it's all of that, combination of that. Men, I'm sorry, but I'm going to do a gender bias here. But you know, you're not going to come to the company and say, I don't know, you know, what it means to feel confident in a woman's body, right? But as long as you have the values are same, we know that you're a good fit. Yes.
Do you think that your background in engineering helped with the business side? Like, do you think it would be more difficult if you didn't have that background? And then for those of us that maybe don't, I guess dependent on your answer to that, like for those of us that don't have that background, do you think it would be beneficial to have that to kind of like face those challenges on the back end of
To build something technical?
yeah, like in the like on the business aspect of it?
If you see, there's 2 ways of doing it. If you want to be a solo founder, which looking back, I don't have I didn't have co-founder. Looking back, it would have been a nice journey to have it shared with someone. You can find a technical co-founder, right, who can take that responsibility. Otherwise, you go the tough route, which I did, and I learned it on my own. I didn't know coding. I mean, I did have the engineering background, but I didn't know how to make mobile apps or algorithms. So I had to learn a lot of that myself. But yeah, my background, my education helped. But it was a tough journey. I had to work 80 hours a week, you know, to learn things that I didn't even want to. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
But as far as business creation is concerned, I don't think that a degree in it really matters. And again, I still go back to my same point of intuition and inner wisdom. We are much more intelligent than our logical mind would ever tell you. I'm not saying flunk your grades here, please don't. But tap into your intuition when necessary and see how that can guide you to create better. Could we move on? Any questions on this portion? And I'm sure we'll cover more of this later. So again, as you can tell, the mission and overall mission of the company remained the same. Like, we wanted to celebrate body positivity. We wanted to make sure that we are ethical. We needed to use sustainable practices, and everything was about customers. Nothing like, you know, we never had any fashion models promoting us. They could have been, you know, influencers, but not like runway models promoting us ever. It was all about, and you can tell like from that age group there, you know, these are normal human beings, like everyday moms, everyday women who want to look cute, right? So coming to my story about intuition and not knowing anything. Initially, when we first started, and we didn't even have a website, we had the original app. I'm like, okay, let's just change that and make it into a styling platform. We'll see. I don't want to spend money building another website. And we started, like I had a bunch of interns and, we're trying to promote and we're like, okay, can we get those 150,000 users to start using the styling service now? And I'm like, this is not working, like something's off. And how do we get this out? We're like, oh, let's look at influencers. So we started approaching people on Instagram. Like Instagram is the most trendy place to be, right? So we have to find influencers on Instagram. TikTok maybe it works there, but it wasn't popular. So we started looking at Instagram, we started sending free boxes. And these were like, popular influencers. I won't say that they were the wrong channel. They weren't the wrong influencers, but the channel was not for us. So we, for like a few months, we kept trying. This was like, I know the exact dates because I'll tell you what happened. It was the beginning of 2019, like January, February, we were doing this with Instagram and we were getting like 10 requests here and there. And I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna work. And I wanted to take a break from doing all of this and I went to Tulum for my birthday in April. So that's why I'm saying I know the exact date. I woke up on my birthday and we had 500 requests or more. I'm like, what the hell happened? And it's my birthday present, sure, but what am I gonna do sitting in Tulum, right? So now I discovered, which again, I didn't know before. Somehow someone from YouTube found us and they ordered a box and they did like one of those unboxing videos. And she was really popular. We didn't know. We had no idea. And she got us all these new customers and they all started requesting. We had no inventory, I had to go back on my birthday to figure out how we're going to fulfill all these orders. That was the start. Since she did it, all the other women who were doing these unboxing videos, they started doing it. So over the course of, like, I would say a month, we have maybe about 15, 20 of these women that doing unboxing videos that each one of them got 100. We have about 1,000 requests already. So the great, and this is my the stats, I think that's for 6 months, and then that's for the year. But we started growing very, very fast. And something that I didn't expect, in a good way. Then that's why I was saying, like, we had to chase a lot of inventory because we didn't know what was going on. There was no prediction for how many people are going to come because we weren't paying for it. So we started building, again, that was the first thing, like, how do we make sure that we have enough inventory? So my first hires were actually head of merchandising, because that was our biggest issue, not marketing. We already had requests coming in without doing anything. The second thing was we wanted to make sure our keep rate, meaning how many pieces are people going to keep. We kept 1,000 requests, if 1,000 of them return everything, that's not a good business model. Again, I didn't go with the mindset of a Silicon Valley entrepreneur saying, oh, I'm growing 5,000 a month, but yeah, I'm not profitable. I don't know what I'm doing. I wanted to keep it a very sustainable, fulfilling business. So we maintained a certain, like, we maintain metrics, basically saying, okay, if we are sending out 5,000 pieces of clothing, at least 4,000 should be kept. So started building data from there. And then our YouTube channel kept growing. And I think now we are over, I don't know, maybe around 5,000 videos on YouTube. And we never paid for any of them. They just kept going and it kept growing. The first 2 years, we didn't do any paid ads and we didn't post on Insta, like we didn't use any Instagram influencers or any other influencers. It was purely YouTube influencers. And in 21, 22, I would say 22, we started doing paid ads because then we were kind of, getting to a plateau. We're like, okay, there's only so many influencers who can post, right? Questions about that? So this kind of brings everything together, how we did what we did. It was, like I said, it was less sci-fi, it was more style-fi. Right. So we knew our algorithms were working. We had enough insight. So this is something from my engineering background, I would say. That's one thing if I can contribute. I always looked at numbers before, like fashion, because I never studied fashion. So I wasn't looking at trends. I wasn't looking at what we were buying. I'm like, someone else can do that. I was looking only at numbers. I'm like, how many people are coming back every month? Who are these people? Where are they located? What's the age? What are they doing? What can I know more? So we looked at numbers every day. We had spreadsheets, Google Sheets basically, that were updating on a daily basis. And I look at the dashboard and be like, okay, including influencers. Like, okay, if an influencer brings me 100 people, who are these people? Like, where are they located? We had the shipping information. We knew enough information about our clients who were coming in. Because that helps with your ads. Once you start doing ads, and you can't just throw money on a spaghetti on the wall and be like, oh yeah, let's just spend $1 million and we'll see what happens. Which people do, by the way. So, but it's good to not spend money on a leaky bucket. And then the predictive inventory manager is what we talked about, how we started predicting what we needed to buy. And now eventually we've come to a conclusion that we'll buy access inventory, which again, we're not buying access from them to make it access for us. We don't want that inventory either. So again, there is that whole algorithm in place, which we know how much we need to buy and when. So in terms of inventory challenges, like we talked about, how are we doing on time, Sarika, by the way? Okay. So I don't want to focus, we already talked so much about it, so maybe I can skip this. If you guys have any questions, we can talk offline as well. Like, we bought access inventory, we're trying to reduce waste, we're trying to make sure that people don't return. So as I told you, like, our clientele was, moms, teachers, nurses, women who were so busy that they didn't want to go and shop. Suburban people, suburban moms who would have to go to like a Target 2 hours away. It's convenient for them. They know what they're getting, they like what they're getting, and they look good. So that's our clientele. The way we were defining impact, or our approach, was not based on like growth, like I was saying, like I'm showing 150% growth every month, but based on satisfaction. And we were very customer focused. We wanted to make sure that our mission still stays. And yes, to your point about hiring the team, my team had to be on board with that. Yes, they knew they were doing data, they knew they were making algorithms, but in the end, was it fulfilling our mission or not, was the question, right? So this is I would say the takeaway is like using data analysis, using intuition, and a balanced leadership. When I say balance, there's a sweet spot. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to just meditate all day and things will happen. You need to take action, but take action in alignment with your intuition and your purpose. So there's a balance between the two. And that's what I did with my team too. We meditated. There was a point where we were raising money and we had to show extreme growth, how we see what world works. So one way was to push everyone, like, no, you have to do this, you have to do this. Second way was, I'm like, okay, for a second, I'm very controlling by my zodiac sign. I'm an Aries. So, but I'm like, okay, let me take the spiritual approach here and see how that works. So we started taking breaks. Every day, we had an hour break at whatever, now noon or 1 o'clock. And we would either meditate or dance. Dance was a form of meditation. We were present, we were shaking energy up. And I started seeing the productivity going better day by day. So power of pause, we talked about, and we will do an exercise on this in the break. This is an overall journey, what happened and how it happened. I know we are almost out of time, so I'm just going to end it with this video. This will show you a portion of the journey. That's the. Okay, before we take a break, this would be my, if you had to take away, this would be the takeaway. Using your awareness intelligence. It's patented this time, so I know I can sue people, just so we know. So listen within, define your impact, take a pause, and build with your heart. That's what I would recommend. Questions? Yes.
Why purple?
Why purple?
Yep.
In spirituality, purple connects you with the universe. Any other questions? Yes.
What would you recommend to someone who already has a profit model but doesn't have an impact model?
Are you purposeful or you impactful to begin with, or you don't care?
As a person, or
Yeah, as that person who's building.
I'd say yes, but in my particular industry, it's hard for me to trace the connections.
But is your purpose doesn't have to be through a product. It could be through the money. Like if you're saying you're profitable and you're doing really well, maybe you can give it back. We give back to, which I didn't mention here, is to a charity for dogs in New York. Every box, $1 goes to stray animals, dogs, in New York City. Why New York City? Is because they don't take 90% of your funds to fund their organization. It actually goes to the animals. Mhm.
I don't know if you touched on this, but why did you decide to move to Miami with your business?
So it was a lifestyle change. I did that campaign in New York, but I needed a warehouse for one. And I really wanted to get out of the cold. I was done digging a hole for my dog to go pee and poop. It turned out good, in Miami. The good thing was that there weren't so many startups when I started. So we got a lot of press, like, from Miami Herald, even like bigger platforms like BuzzFeed, and USA Today, Chamber of Commerce, everyone, because how many fashion textiles do you see in Miami? Right. So I felt it was an advantage. Yeah.
This would be a comment, but I think having intention and purpose is really, really where the growth starts. And I also believe that never giving a little pause will help. So I think I learned that if I learned anything, then I think it's always that. So thank you.
Thank you. That's amazing. And it's true.
So if we could all put our hands together for Mitali. 11 o'clock on the dot right now, so we'll
And no one's asleep.
reconvene at exactly 11:05. Mitali has a small workshop, and then we do have some time for Q&A at the end.
Has anyone done this before? The wheel of life? No? It should be done on an individual basis. You guys, if you want to spread out and don't want your, next door neighbor to look at it, you can.
Oh, I've done this before. It's a blend, right? Every time I take on that, finance.
So the purpose of this exercise is to bring awareness in different areas of your life. So you see, there's different sections. And you see does everyone have it yet or no? Is anyone missing?
So one counts, guys, just while Mitali explains the activity.
Yeah, so does everyone have it? Or are you missing? Okay. Again, if you need to spread out, do that. This should be done on an individual basis. It's for you. It's not for your friends or your neighbors. The purpose is to be aware of different parts of your life right now. And if you see on the circle, there's different sections. that those are pretty self-explanatory, and there's numbers on one axis, right? It's from 1 to 10. So the area you feel like you have to rate yourself in that area from 1 to 10, and you put a number on that circle. So if it's 10, you put it on the outside, 8 going in, all the way to 1 in the end. Guys, did you get that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So take your time. Let's get 15 minutes.
We're rating where we think we are. We're rating where we think we are.
In life with those areas of life. Yeah.
On a
Grading
scale.
yourself from the scale. Yeah, 1 to 10. Okay. Up to them if they want to, but I'll show them what it means.
Darling,
Yeah.
I think we have a question.
10 is highest.
10 is highest, yes. Think about it before you do, because this will also bring awareness to yourself, like why and where you are in life. Yeah.
Like what I feel and how I'm doing right now, or like my goal.
Right now. Maybe I should do it.
Yeah.
Are we done? Is anyone still working on it? Show of hands, anyone still working on it? We're good?
We're good.
Okay. So then we're gonna do a little exercise before we get to the explanation. We're good, everyone's good? Okay, so we're gonna do a short meditation. Guess what? We're not gonna sleep, but we're gonna meditate. Can I please get your attention? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so to begin, please sit up straight. Close your eyes. Bring your focus to your breath. Breathe in, count of 4. One, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. Breathe in, count of 4. Hold. Out for 4. Hold for 4. If thoughts come, let them be. They're just like clouds. Focus on your breath. Once more. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep your focus on your breath and see if you can feel your breath in your body. Again, if thoughts arise, it's okay. Let them be. You'll deal with them later. Just keep your attention on your breath as it's going in and coming out. I want you to focus on your heart. It's the middle of your chest. And to yourself in your mind, say 3 things that you're grateful for today. Try not to think so much, just be grateful for what you have. What are you grateful for today? And bring your focus back to your breath. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. No rush. I want you to look at your wheel of life again. Feel free to make any changes if you feel it's different this time. If not, just be aware of what you've done, how you've marked yourself. Has anything shifted? It's okay if it hasn't, will be fine. Just be aware of it, that's all. So the idea behind the wheel of life is for you to look at it and you can take it back and reflect on it in the following few days and see if anything changes, like if you've graded yourself. If anyone wants to talk about it, please feel free to, but it's very personal, so I don't want to encourage that. But if you want to, please go ahead. But if you create your, yeah, that's fine. You want to do it?
Yeah, that's just.
Come on. You want to show it to them?
I just want to share one of the.
Okay.
So basically, health, I put much lower because I was like, I didn't go to the gym as many times as I thought, but then when I actually meditated on it, one of the things I was grateful for was the health, and then I realized how much I appreciate it, so it went up.
Awesome. So when you look at your chart, that's one thing you should look at as well, what you just did. You reflected back and you said, why did I put so less? Look at the numbers that you've graded less than 5. What sections have you graded yourself less than 5? And if you have less than 5, why is that? And that's a personal question. You would only know why it's that, not me. If you have anything below 10, why is that? Why can't anything be perfect? Is there anything that can be perfect in your life? Why not? Why do we grade ourselves less than 10? Has anyone done all perfect 10s? So reflect on that. Why not? What can you change in your mindset, in your life? What's holding you back? So when we talk about mindfulness, that's a key there. Mindfulness means mindless, really. How do you, like I was saying earlier, how do you disassociate with your thinking mind? Because our thinking mind will always put criteria saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, oh, I'm not healthy enough. Right? But as you realize without your thinking mind, you will see that you're complete, you're a perfect 10. That's the goal. Any questions? Anyone wants to share anything else? Thank you for sharing, please. That was amazing. Anyone else wants to share anything? Well, this is for you, like I said, take it back and see how it changes. Some days it might go lower, some days it might get higher, but ask yourself, why can't it be perfect 10? And your wheel should be a wheel and not that crooked thing. Are we good with time, Sarika?
We're good.
Okay, we can take questions now? Okay. Open Q&A. I'm sleeping, so we're good. Except the dog. Yes.
Where do you see your business going, let's say, in the next 5 years? Like, what would be like your best case scenario for your business in the next 5 years?
I'm actually looking for an exit right now. I'm talking to some people, I might sell it. And, I'm off to a new journey. thinking of something in the mental health space next.
Do you still want to, like, bring anything from fashion into the mental health, like journey that you want to start, or are you just kind of keeping it general with like mental health?
Sure, so it's gonna be tech again.
Okay.
But how to integrate tech in what we're discussing right now, like mindfulness in general life is what I'm thinking of. But my first, like when you, from a logical standpoint, now I've learned my mistakes, right? So that I'm bringing to the table. I know what not to do.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things I can tell you by learning lessons is you get what you pay for, right? So things that I didn't do right the first time around, hopefully I can do it this time.
It's in the same, like, demographic.
No,
No.
maybe this time it's men. No, why not? Yes.
Which brands are you currently, I know you're piloting X fashion right now, but are they small business clothing brands? Are they, which retailer?
Yeah, small to medium size, so I would say anywhere between 10 to 50 million in revenue, because then we need enough data. We can't operate with a startup like who doesn't have at least 3-4 years of good data to train the model.
What would you say was a decision you changed in your experience of fashion?
A decision I made that changed the course of my company
A
or
decision you made that you would change now, reflecting.
back? I should have done this sooner. Yeah. Yeah, please.
This isn't necessarily a question, but just like, evaluation in regards to just like being able to work really like the practical skills in regards to like something that is seen as like a passion, but like not necessarily go to school for, but you're still able to like make the most of it and like integrate it to those functions. So, because I'm looking to do the same.
Okay.
as, like business. So
Very cool.
just
No, that's awesome. I don't believe, like, I believe in education, obviously, but I don't believe that you have to know everything before you begin something. That you can always learn. Life is a journey, right? You can keep learning. Like we didn't know about ChatGPT when I started. So I'm talking about that, people are scared about losing jobs to AI, but what you're gonna lose jobs to is people who know AI, like who know how to use AI. So, you learn as you go.
You mentioned that over the years you've been building a database with the preferences of your customers and predicting what they're going to like when you launch your next box. In my opinion, I think that's a very sensitive topic because, for example, social media, some platforms, they predict what you would
Purchase.
most likely like to see next. And we know how that turned out. So I wanted to ask, what are you doing to keep that information, or like what is the process of everything?
You mean data security?
Yes.
Or from the customer point, like, oh, is it really helping me or am I just giving out so much information to them?
Yes, I mean, what are you doing to keep safe the information that you acquired from your customer?
Okay, so everything is encrypted. We use it in algorithms, but we don't advertise it. It's very safe. Like I was saying, we do it on AWS server. So, I mean, unless it's a very low chance, but it can happen, they get hacked. But it'll be very hard, like, especially like, I mean, we don't obviously, credit card and everything is very secure with the payment gateways. The information we have, I feel like other e-commerce companies expose it more because they're using Shopify, and Shopify keeps your address, your phone number and everything. We're not even doing that. We don't use Shopify for all of that. So our system is pretty secure, and the information we have from them is like what clothing they like and what they don't like. It's not like, personal stuff, their bank account and social security number. So the chances of getting that information attacked by, cybersecurity reasons, I don't see that. But we've kept our measures to keep it encrypted, yeah. It's in JSON files if you need technical terms.
Thank you. What's your like biggest challenge starting off your company?
I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. I was in New York Fashion Week and I'm like, oh, I know what I want to do as a mission, but I don't know what the product's gonna be. Yes,
Do you use it for yourself?
yes. My jeans, my shirt, they're all from my company. Thank you. I know, and I'm petite, so it was hard for me to shop outside too. Mhm.
So is the box, is it a combination of various brands that you brought together? Is that what?
Yeah, so we don't design, we don't manufacture, we buy. And we buy access now, like I said earlier. Before we were buying from different brands like wholesalers and mom pop designers to, feed it to the ecosystem, but now we're only doing ethical brands which have access inventory. But in a box, you would get typically 4 things, which can be paired together, and a piece of jewelry. Yes.
Is it, correct me if I'm wrong, but I read that you were also a business coach.
Yes.
How do you think that sort of helped you with your journey? And what role did that?
It actually evolved into that, and now what I'm going to do next, hopefully. And thanks to Lynn, you guys, it came out of my TEDx talk. I don't even know, Sarika, maybe you have this answer, but I don't know what exactly I was supposed to be talking on. Maybe I was supposed to talk on AI, but I moved it to AI, which is awareness intelligence, the other AI. And when I did that, out with permission, obviously with Shay, I think I have over 20,000, 25,000 views already on my talk. I started getting approached by people to ask about how I used mindfulness because I was very vulnerable for the first time on stage, talking about how I crashed and then I started doing this all over again and how I built it. So that led to me researching if there's a formal way of actually providing that information to businesses. And I did a certification from MIT, which is called Neuroscience for Business. And I started learning more about what I was telling you guys about the frontal cortex and everything, the intuition, the ways of thinking. It's very scientific. It has nothing to do with new agey sage burning stuff. So that then after like maybe a couple of months, I started looking into coaching. And there's an organization called ICF, International Coaching Federation, and I'm certified with them. But while I was doing the certification, one of the requirements was to coach for 100 hours. And when I was doing that, and I'm still in the process, I haven't completed all 100, I started noticing there's a trend on the Q&A, like what people ask for and what their goal is. And I feel there's a product that can be made for that.
Is it like membership based, like you purchase it each month?
No,
or-
there's no subscription model. You come as you go. But our retention rate is over 80%. So they come back.
Yeah.
Time for a break. We're done. More
This
questions?
is good. I think, does anyone have it? I have a small gratitude for you.
That's okay. We typically plan for this at 11:50, so we're early.
Should I be ready for it?
You can go to the middle.
Hi, so on behalf of everyone here at Watson, we just want to say thank you so much for coming here today, spending this time with us and sharing your entrepreneurship story and all of the challenges and the ways you've overcame them. And yeah, just teaching us about being mindful and listening to ourselves and getting to know that voice so we can hear it and follow it and listen to it. And I personally want to say thank you for giving us that time for the meditation, because I've tried to practice that and I haven't really been doing that as much as I should recently. So thank you for that. And so at Watson, we have a saying that we protect each other's courage. So we want to cape you to thank you for protecting ours today. If you don't mind.
Sure. Oh, I get a cake. Really well in my outfit. Thank you, you're welcome.
You guys wanna take a picture?
Oh, I should do this?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mitali. We've connected a couple years ago and it's been such a pleasure following her journey. I personally have learned so much. I, for lack of better words, stalked her and found her and have brought her into this community. And so I encourage all of you, if you're interested in something, if you're inspired by stories, to reach out and to maintain those relationships. The return comes back tenfold. And to all of you, please put your hands together for you. Thank you for being here and inviting us to meet. We're a bit early, so what we'll do is we'll take our photo outside and then we'll transition to the community table. If you would like to seat at the table, we do have a couple open spots as well, so just please let me know outside. If you like, okay. If anyone else would like to seat at the community table, just let me know outside.
Thank you, guys. It was amazing. You guys were good. And good luck with everything.